and welcome back to Googie's Kitchen, and if you are new here then hello and welcome. My name's Alexis and I post 2 videos a week on a Tuesday and a Thursday at 7 AM. So if you love a recipe video like this one and you want to see more, then please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And now I'm going to share with you my 3 vegan curries. As I just mentioned, today I want to share with you my 3 favourite vegan curries. Homemade curry can be very healthy, and experts have now confirmed that curry can actually help you to lose weight. Due to the spices, it can help with weight loss. So if you're looking to lose a few pounds this January, or if you're trying to just slim down a little bit, then curry is a delicious way to do that. Curries are really easy to prepare and cook, and they are also very cheap as well. Depending on the ingredients you use, they can be very inexpensive. We love eating curry. We do generally tend to eat a curry once a week, I'd say, and I thought I'd share 3 of my favourites with you today. Start the process, I'm going to put a large pan onto a high heat, and I'm going to add a little bit of oil to the base of that pan, and I'm going to leave the pan to heat up. The onion has started to soften, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in my garlic now. So I have peeled and sliced 2 whole cloves of garlic, so I'm going to pop those into the frying pan, into the saucepan, sorry, as well. And I'm going to fry those until they start to go a lovely golden brown colour. And the garlic won't take as long as the onions did to fry. I'm just going to turn the heat down slightly as well because it's getting a bit too hot. The garlic will probably take about a minute or so before it starts to go golden brown. The onions normally take about 3 to 5 minutes, I'd say, before they start to soften. So the garlic has started to go a lovely golden brown colour now. If I can just pick up a piece, there you go. It's just on the end of the spoon there. So that's started to go a golden brown colour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in some butternut squash. Now in the original recipe I said to use a yellow pepper. Unfortunately I don't have any yellow pepper, so I've decided to use up this spare bit of butternut squash that I had in the fridge. So I'm going to add that in. As the butternut squash is quite hard, I'm putting it in before I add the aubergine and courgette as well. And I just want to heat the butternut squash through a little bit, just to make it so once it's heated through, it will soften quicker once everything else is added in the pan. So I've added the butternut squash to the pan, and it has started to go slightly softer. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in my courgettes and my aubergine as well. So I've peeled and sliced 1 courgette, and I've peeled and sliced 1 aubergine as well. So I'm just going to add those to the pan, and I'm going to fry these until these start to soften. So this curry is loaded with veg. So if you wanted to use like half a courgette instead of 1 courgette, then you could. Or if you wanted to use only half an aubergine, then you can as well. I know a lot of people who don't like aubergine, but I absolutely love it. I think it gives the food a kind of meaty flavour, if that makes sense. So I love it. And I'm just going to fry these vegetables now until these start to soften. It should probably take a couple of minutes before they do. So the aubergine has started to cook. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in my spices. So I'm going to add a teaspoon of garam masala or thereabouts, a teaspoon of mild chili powder as well, and I'm going to add in some dried mixed herbs. Now you are meant to add in ground cinnamon, but unfortunately I don't have any ground cinnamon, so I'm going to have to use a cinnamon stick at the end. So now what I'm going to do is just fry those in with the vegetables so everything is covered all of the herbs and spices are covered in the vegetables cover the herbs and spices. The herbs and spices are covered in the vegetables. Does that make sense? Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, anyway, so I'm just going to stir this round, and then I'm going to add in my tomatoes now. So I've got 2 tins of tomatoes here. So I'm just going to pour in as well. Like so. I'm going to stir those in, and then I'm going to add in my black beans now as well. So I'm going to add in, now I've used dried black beans, but you can use tinned if you want to. So in the original recipe I think I said to use 2 tins of black beans. I'm actually using about 200 grams of black beans today, so I'm going to add those in to the curry sauce as well. I'm just going to mix that round, and then finally I'm going to add in my cinnamon stick, and I'm going to bring everything to the boil again. Add in my cinnamon stick like so. And I'm going to bring everything to the boil, and then I'm going to leave this to simmer for a really long time. Probably I'd say about 30 minutes or so, and then I shall cook some quinoa. You can have this with rice or millet, or what else have we started? Buckwheat as well we've started to have now. So you can have this with any grain you fancy really. So yeah, I'm just going to bring this to the boil, as I said, and then I'm going to leave it to simmer for about 30 minutes. Or I'm going to add in my salt and pepper as well. So I'm going to add in a little bit of pepper and a little bit of salt as well. And that's salt and pepper to your taste. You can add it, you can leave it out if you don't like it in there. So yeah, so I think this has come to the boil now. So I'm going to leave this to simmer, and I shall be back in about 30 minutes. So as you can see, I've left the curry on the hob to simmer away. It smells delicious, I have to say, it smells really nice. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to still leave it there while I cook some quinoa. The quinoa has cooked, so the last thing for me to do is to add in just a handful or 2 of spinach. And I'm just going to mix that round until it wilts down in the pan. And then I'll probably add a little bit of yoghurt to the curry, and that is our dinner done. Finally, I'm just going to add a little bit of yoghurt to the top of the curry just to make it a bit more creamy, and I'm going to mix that in a little bit, and I'm just going to try a little bit of the curry, see how it tastes. It smells so good. Firstly, I'm going to preheat my oven to 180 degrees. While the oven was preheating, I peeled, sliced and diced my vegetables. So I have here 1 red onion that I've peeled, sliced and diced. I have probably about 200 grams or a small butternut squash that I've peeled, sliced and diced, but I've also removed the seeds from as well. And then I peeled and sliced and diced a carrot, and I have a courgette here as well that I've done the same to. So I'm just going to put these into my baking tray. Now my baking tray is a Pampered Chef stoneware baking tray, and stoneware is really good at absorbing the badness from the food and leaving the goodness. So that's why I don't really need any oil or any greaseproof paper, but if you're using an ordinary baking tray and you want to use greaseproof paper, then please do. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour a little bit of olive oil over the top of those vegetables, and I'm just going to toss those together like so, and then I've got to go and grab myself a spoon. Now that my vegetables are covered in the olive oil, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sprinkle over my herbs and spices. So I have 1 teaspoon of oregano that I'm just going to sprinkle over like so. And then I also have a teaspoon of mild chili powder as well. So I'm just going to sprinkle over some mild chili powder. And then I've also got some garam masala that I'm going to sprinkle over as well. I love the smell of garam masala, it's really nice. I do love that smell. And then I'm also going to sprinkle over some garlic as well. So just some garlic granules. If you wanted to use garlic cloves, then I'd say probably use 1 to 2 garlic cloves. And then I'm also going to sprinkle over some ground sweet cinnamon as well, probably about half a teaspoon. And then of course I'm going to add salt and pepper to this as well, so salt and pepper to your taste. So I'm just going to sprinkle over some salt like so, just a couple of pinches. And then I'm also going to sprinkle over some pepper as well. And with the mild chili powder, I know it's a masala, but some people might like it a bit hotter. So you could use medium or hot, but I am serving this to my son today, who doesn't mind spice, but he doesn't like it too spicy. So that's why I'm only using mild. We're still getting him used to spice in this house. So yes, I'm just tossing all of these together now in this baking tray until everything is covered in the herbs and the spices. It's starting to smell really nice already, I have to say. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into the oven for about 30 to 40 minutes, or until the vegetables start to go golden brown and crispy on the outside. Yesterday I weighed and measured my chickpeas into a bowl, and then I poured water over the top, and I made sure there was enough to cover the chickpeas and a little bit more. Then I left them to soak in the fridge overnight, and then all I've done this morning is just drain and rinse them over the sink. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour those into my saucepan, and I'm going to add water to these. So I'm going to add enough water to cover them, and then 2 inches above as well, hopefully. So you need a lot of water to cook chickpeas. It's so that they don't all bang together in the pan and bruise each other. They don't like to do that apparently. So yes, and now what I'm going to do is I'm also going to add a teaspoon of baking powder to the water as well. And what the baking powder is going to do is hopefully soften the chickpeas and make them cook slightly quicker as well. So I'm now going to put my heat onto high on my hob, and I'm going to put the lid on. I'm going to let these come to the boil, and then I'm going to leave them to simmer for probably a good half an hour. On the packet it says 10 minutes, but I think the packet is slightly wrong. It depends on how old the chickpeas are, is how long it will take them to cook, but also adding the baking powder does help them to soften a lot quicker and cook a lot quicker as well. So I brought the chickpeas to the boil, and now what I've done is I've just simply turned down the heat, and I'm going to leave them to simmer for probably about 20 minutes for the remaining time of the vegetables in the oven, and then I'll check them after 20 minutes. So my veg have been in the oven for a good 40 minutes now, and as you can see they've started to go slightly golden brown around the edges. So that means they're cooked, they're perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these out and I'm going to leave them to cool. The chickpeas have cooked and they are lovely and soft, and what I've done is I've turned the heat off already, and I'm going to take these to the sink and drain them through the colander. And while the vegetables are cooling, I'm going to leave these to cool as well. The vegetables have now cooled and they are touchable, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put them into my blender, and I'm going to make a sauce out of these vegetables. So I'm going to blend these until they're smooth, and this sauce also could be made in advance of a meal as well. So if you wanted to make this at the weekend and then eat it during the week, then you can always put it in the deep freeze. All of the ingredients are freezable in this dish as well. So I'm also going to add some almond milk to this. In the original recipe, I think I said to use coconut drink, or maybe coconut water, but I didn't have any of that today, so I'm actually just going to use almond milk. You could use a milk of your choice if you wanted to though, and I'm going to use about 500 mils. As I said, I'm going to make this meal vegan. Also in the original recipe, I think I said to use chicken stock just to top it up, but I don't have any chicken stock either. So if I need anything extra, I'm just going to use some extra almond milk in this. So now I'm just going to blend all of these ingredients together. Ingredients have been blended together until they are smooth. I did need to blend this twice, however, so just to let you know that sometimes my blender does tend to take a little bit more time to blend everything until it's smooth. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour this into a saucepan, and then I have drained and rinsed through once more my cooked chickpeas. And I'm simply just going to add these to the curry sauce, and that is basically the curry done. And it does smell delicious, I have to say, and although it's not warm through, I am going to give the sauce a little try because I just want to check the seasoning. Oh, that's delicious. It's really creamy and smooth, and it's just packed full of flavour as well. So what I'm going to do later on is I'll heat this through, and then I'll cook some quinoa, and we will be having this for our dinner, and I can't wait. Almost dinner time, and I have just finished cooking my quinoa, and all I'm going to do is just add some chopped coriander to the top of the curry. The coriander is optional, you don't have to add it if you don't like it. So yes, that is my butternut squash and chickpea masala curry done, and as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be having this for our dinner this evening, and it smelled and tasted so good. I'm going to do is preheat my oven to 200 degrees. My oven has preheated, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to roast my vegetables. So as well as aubergine, I have a couple of other vegetables that I like to put into this curry as well. So I have peeled and cubed one aubergine, so I've done them to about 1 centimetre piece, the cubes, and then I've also peeled and cubed one courgette as well, so I've done those to about 1 centimetre piece, and I'm going to put those into my baking tray like so. And then I also have some tomato as well here. If I added all of these ingredients to the title, then this would be a really long title, so I don't do it. So that's why I've just said roasted aubergine, but the courgette and the tomatoes help to add extra flavour to this curry as well. So I've got about 500 grams of fresh tomatoes as well. They're on the vine ones. You can use other tomatoes, you don't have to use on the vine, but I do find that they are delicious, especially at this time of year in the summer as well. And now I'm just going to add a pinch of salt to all of that as well, a good pinch of salt. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some olive oil, just drizzle some olive oil over the top of this. And then I'm going to just toss all of the veg in the oil and the salt. So hopefully everything will be covered in the oil and the salt like so. And now I'm going to put this into my oven for about 30 to 40 minutes, or until everything's golden brown and the tomatoes have split. So my vegetables have roasted, and as you can see the tomatoes have split, so I'm going to take these out of the oven and leave them to cool for about 10 minutes now. As you can see, I have removed the vegetables from the oven and I left them to cool for about 10 minutes or so, and now I'm going to blend them with a bit of vegetable stock. So I've got about 300 ml of vegetable stock here, but I'm only going to use about 200 I think. So I'm just going to add a bit more. So I'm going to use about 200, and I've got a bit more just in case I need it. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put these vegetables into my blender, and I'm going to blend them all together, And this is basically the basis of the curry sauce. And the reason I blend it all up is simply because my little family aren't great fans of vegetables. So if I blend it, they don't know what's in it. So I can get away with it. And they eat vegetables, so that's always good. So I'm just going to put that in there, and then I'm going to put the lid on, and as I said, I'm going to blend this until it's smooth now. I'm going to just check. Yep. As I said, I've blended this until it is smooth, and basically I'm just going to use this as a sauce, and I'm going to go and cook the curry now. So I've put some rice on to cook because we're going to have curry and rice tonight. And what I'm going to do now is I am going to put my pan onto a high heat on my hob, and I'm going to add oil to the base of that pan. So I'm just going to add a teaspoon or two, and I'm going to swirl that around until it's all covered. The base is all covered in the oil. And I'm going to leave this pan to heat up now on the hob. So my pan is nice and hot now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a red onion to this. So I have peeled, sliced and diced one red onion. I've just done it roughly, you don't have to have it small. If you don't like onion, or if you have someone in your family who doesn't like onion, then you could always add it to the sauce, or you can chop it smaller if you want to. I've done it in fairly small chunks, but not too small. And now I'm just going to stir this until the onion starts to soften in the pan. So as you can see, the pan is getting very hot now, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn down the heat slightly, and I'm also going to add a little bit of water to the bottom of the pan to stop those onions from boiling. And now I'm going to add my spices to this. So I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of garam masala, and then I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of ground ginger as well. Oh, that smells good already. And then I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of mild chili powder. You can add hot or medium as well if you want to. You don't have to have mild. If you like it a bit spicier, then please add hot or medium. And then I'm also going to add a little bit of ground cinnamon as well. And cinnamon will just give it that sweetness and take away the bitterness as well. And then I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of dried oregano as well, or oregano as I know the Americans like to call it. And I'm just going to stir this around now until these start to heat up, and I can smell that already. That smells good, man. And now I'm going to add in my sauce that we made earlier. So I'm just going to add that into the pan, and I'm going to mix all of those ingredients together now, like so. And then all that's left to do for this is to add chickpeas in, and I cooked the chickpeas earlier. So what I did was I got some baking powder and some water, and I soaked these in a big bowl overnight, and then I drained them under the sink, and I rinsed the baking powder and all the excess water off, and then I put them into a large saucepan like this one, and I cooked them with a teaspoon of baking powder again. And now I'm going to add these to my saucepan, and I'm just letting my rice come to the boil, and I'm just going to turn the heat right down on this, and I'm going to leave it to simmer now. I've just tried a little bit of the sauce. I'm going to try a bit more, and I think it just needs a touch of salt and a bit of pepper. So a little bit of salt. I know I added salt at the beginning, but I don't want to add too much, but just a touch more. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of pepper to this as well. And then I'm just going to mix this round and try it again. And I think this should be dinner done by the time I've done this. Oh yeah, that's good. That's really brought out the flavour of the tomato and the spices as well. And now all I'm going to do is I'm just simply going to add some chopped spinach and some chopped courgette. chopped courgette, chopped spinach and chopped coriander. I've just got like a big handful of that. So I'm just going to put that in. And I'm just waiting for my rice to boil, so I'm just going to let this wilt down in the pan now by stirring it round. And all that's left to do is wait for the rice to boil, and that will be dinner done. That's how you make my 3 favourite vegan curries, and those recipes I will link in the description box below for you. They all look so tasty. I'm going to go and make one now. So for now, that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to give me a big thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and please feel free to leave any comments below, and please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. See you all soon. Bye!